All right, what is going on, people? This is the Cornerstone Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment, and share the content. You can follow us on YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes. So we got Chief, Bullhead, and Rob on the mic. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, cuz?
So
What
everything's
am?
everything's good, man. I kind of wanted you to go over some VA disability because I'm sure there's like a lot of people out there. They might have some questions about if they join the military and once they separate from the military and if they are not made whole physically and possibly mentally, that how the VA can kind of like give you monthly payments just to kind of make you somewhat back whole. Because if you're not made whole once you separate from the military, then it's their obligation to like give you monthly payments just to kind of ease the burden per se. But far as for me, I was made whole. But oh yeah, my main question, right? Let's say if I was to have some type of disability later in life, and let's just say I get 10%, would I get back pay from the time I separated, or would I get back pay from the time that like officially filed for that disability?
So, normally you'll get paid from the time that you do the claim because those claims, can take 6 months to a year. Sometimes they come back.
Okay.
So they'll pay you from the time. In matter of fact, it's called the intent, um, an intention for a claim.
Hmm.
So you either can call the VA at the 800 number that they have, or you can go online to e-benefits. Once you figure out how to figure out e-benefits, because it's not an easy program to navigate, even though they are getting better.
Hmm.
But yeah, so when you do an intent to file, whatever that date is when you get paid. You get back paid for.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But one thing that I would like to start off this with is to let people understand, those veterans understand. Um, I call it disability 101. A VA disability starts on the first day that you join whatever branch of service that you go to. First day for boot camp.
Hmm.
Um, actually, I was reading something on sexual assault just recently, and they said that now, if you have been sexually assaulted before you join the military, that you still can ask for help, and they will help you and give you counseling after you join. For me, I wouldn't want to have someone who still has a traumatic event that they haven't gotten over as far as readiness is concerned. Because if someone has a severe mental disability, then that interferes with their ability to do their job. All right,
Hmm.
but that's just my opinion about it. I don't make the rules. Um, but on the first day, the first thing they do is they take your blood type. They check you for sickle cell anemia. Um, they uh, they give you multiple vaccines. Well, I'm sorry. First, they do what they call titers. So that's hepatitis A, hepatitis B, measles and mumps, rubella, varicella, which is also chicken pox, and they do a lab test to see if you have an immunity towards those particular disease processes.
Now, do they now do the smallpox and the anthrax on day one?
To my knowledge, they've never done either one of those on day one. Uh, those immunizations are deployment requirements,
Oh,
and everybody in the military doesn't get deployed. So, but once you get identified for deployment or you're in a deployable unit,
the unit.
then
Yeah.
that's when you get those vaccines.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And all those vaccines, like I said, are um, mission oriented driven.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to Africa, you got to have yellow fever. You have to have
Malaria.
the malaria, uh, well, anti malarial medication, because there's not really a vaccine for malaria. You have to take a couple different antibiotics. I believe 10 days before you get in country, and then up to 10 days when you get back.
Now,
Um,
is it strictly spread through mosquitoes, or
uh, a yellow fever.
no, 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 as far as malaria?
Well, malaria, yes.
Okay, all right,
Yep. The culprit of choice is the Anopheles mosquito.
okay. And now, can it be spread sexually?
That's a good question. I don't know. I never asked that question before.
Oh, I mean, I was just wondering.
I
Yeah.
don't know, but I know the primary transmission is the Anopheles mosquito.
Oh, okay. All right, sir. Go ahead.
So you get your the next thing they do is they give you a reference audiogram, which is a hearing test.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they do this is because a lot of us in the military are going to be around uh, munitions, bombs, heavy machinery, loud noises on ships, you know, uh, riding around in tanks, all kind of different what they call hearing conservation. So you get this baseline audiogram, and luckily these days it's kept in a repository system. So it's not something that it's not just a piece of paper that if you lose that piece of paper, now you have no evidence or proof of what your hearing was when you first joined. So depending on if you were with the combat unit, they get their hearing test once a year so they can identify hearing issues um, earlier in your career. And sometimes they may have to what they call uh, reset your reference audiogram or give you a new updated audiogram. Um, I I don't recommend that people allow them to do that because your hearing was what it was on the first day. If it gets worse, then like I said, there's treatment or keeping you away from hearing issues for in loud spaces for certain periods of time. Um, or if it gets so bad, you can go through something we're going to talk about a little bit later, the med board process, right? And then you remember that little shot they gave you in the butt on the first day of boot camp?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's bicillin. It's a highly concentrated penicillin, and it's used for only one thing.
What's that?
It's given to every person in the military unless they're allergic to penicillin to treat syphilis.
Mm.
There used to be a time before you could get married that you would have to take a syphilis test.
As far as in
I don't know
America.
why in America. Yep, there used to be a time where you had to have a syphilis test because it was something that lies dormant for so long um, that once it appears, it goes into its secondary stage, which is the most infectious stage. So they give everyone this bicillin. They used to call it the peanut butter shot, and they make you roll on it back and forth and back and forth. That was just to get it to kind of absorb into your muscles a little bit easier. But
We
we
just
also
thought
had
that the drill instructor was just being assholes because they would
no,
tell
no,
us to do that.
no, no. There was a reason for that.
Oh,
They
okay.
make you they make you ride back on it so it can just kind of absorb that medicine out of your butt into the rest of your system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, out of that gluteus maximus muscle that it goes into.
Mm-hmm.
Then we there's a list of things on the what they call an STR, which is a service treatment record. It used to be just called medical records. And in section 1 is all your occupational medicine. So your shots, your like I said, blood type, sickle cell, G6PD. G6PD is a enzyme that surrounds the red blood cells. In the absence of it, you cannot get malaria. So G6PD, which is an enzyme, it helps the Anopheles mosquito pass on the uh, malaria virus or bacteria to the rest of the body. So if you, matter of fact, those with G6PD, this is very important too. If you have that deficiency, you're not supposed to be taking those antibiotics to treat malaria.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a sailor, actually, she was a soldier at one time, and she became a Navy reserve sailor. And she was a medic, became a corpsman, but they went on a mission to Cameroon. And her G6PD deficiency, like I said, she was deficient.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, you had some untrained doctors in this field as far as deployments. Happens all the time. Every doctor doesn't know everything. Uh, they really need to have a deployment specialist doctor that actually needs to be a field, which really is not a field in the military, but it should be. Only certain people are allowed to give you a physical exam for qualification for certain duties. So special warfare is one of them. Submarine duty, aviation duty. So they have flight surgeons that do flight physicals. If you're not a flight surgeon, you cannot sign off on a flight physical. But if you do, you more likely will go to jail or be kicked out of the military or both. I've worked with flight surgeons. I've worked with underwater dive medical officers. I've worked with, well, they do have some occupational medicine specialists, but when I say, they don't have a specialist doctor, they have certain doctors at certain clinics um, throughout the military that you have to go through. But there are a lot of people who go find a reserve doctor on a drill weekend and get them to sign off on something they're not qualified to understand or to authorize. It happens all the time. Um, and that's where your VA disability actually really becomes an issue, because if they're not doing the right things and they're not giving you the right things that you need, like an example, I had a friend of mine. He's a master chief now, but when he was a chief, he was sending 12 Marines to Morocco, and he told his chain of command, which I believe was a colonel and a lieutenant colonel and a sergeant major, that these Marines had not got their yellow fever shot, and that was a requirement to go to Morocco. So somehow, all of his emails disappeared as he was corresponding back and forth, and they sent these Marines to Morocco, and a dozen of them got yellow fever and had to be medevaced all the way to Bethesda Naval Hospital, where they call it Walter Reed now. You think the Pentagon didn't hear about that?
Yeah, more than likely they have.
I mean, look, when you get 12 medevacs out of an area operation and they all have the same disease and they all were not immunized for that, oh, that's going to get big. It's probably had White House attention. But they tried to court martial my friend,
Mm.
and he did something that all medical people should do, especially military medical people. He printed off all his emails. So even though they deleted them, he still had the proof that he notified them.
Mm.
But these 12 Marines are going to get a disability for that that um, that lack of immunizations, because they'll be able to claim that on their VA disability. Oh yeah, I caught yellow fever in Morocco because I didn't get a shot,
Oh, okay.
and they were sick too.
Wow.
All these diseases, they do change your body, and they do help destroy cells and all kind of things.
So,
And
so,
that's where disability comes in.
so based off that one incident, what percentage were they allowed to have on a disability? And also talk about the different percentages as well.
Okay, so I'm not an expert, but I'll tell you how much I know. Um, there is a there is a list of disability ratings and what the max amount of percentage that you can get for each one.
Mm-hmm.
So for like say PTSD, great example. You can get all the way up to 100% for PTSD.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I went to Kuwait, right, for 6 months, and I think I may have had a minor case of PTSD because once I came back home, I didn't feel like I was the same person. I was very short with like my family and friends as far as having a conversation with them. I mean, I kind of felt distant in some type of way, and I went to a Minnesota Vikings game. It was like a preseason game because I went to visit my uncle out in La Crosse. So we drove up to Minneapolis. We saw the Vikings play. Then we came
Okay.
back to Wisconsin. So when the Vikings scored a touchdown, they let out some fireworks. And once the fireworks came off, it literally like kind of had me thinking I was kind of like back in Kuwait because
Right.
when they was firing off missiles into Kuwait from Iraq, they would sound off these like these loud ass alarms. Then we got to put on a gas mask and run to the nearest bunker. This happened
Right.
constantly. So okay,
Now,
so my
did you
question,
talk to have you talked to anyone about that?
no, no. So that was my
Okay.
question.
All
Being
right.
that,
So
okay, so like being that I didn't get like an official debriefing or any type of counseling when I once I got back from Kuwait, would that qualify me of having PTSD? And I
okay.
never really had any type of help with that.
Okay. So let's dissect this really easy. The first thing you got to do is you got to go sit on someone's couch and tell them how you feel, how you felt before you joined the Marine Corps, how you felt after you um, finished boot camp. I'm pretty sure you were pretty charged up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's happy. You know, you finna move on to your next duty station. You get there. Next thing you know, voila, you're on a plane getting ready to go to the foreign land. And you don't know what's going to happen when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Veterans have to paint a picture and you have to sit on someone's couch. A lot of times, the problem is people don't want to sit, they don't want to invest that time sitting on someone's couch. I was guilty of it for years myself, but when I, 3 years before I got out, I started sitting on somebody's couch.
Mm.
And to be honest with you, I was sitting on someone's couch because I needed time off. I was so stressed out at my last duty station that I needed an hour 3 times a week to sit on, my doctor's couch.
Oh, so like prior to your EAS, you was seeking counseling.
Well, I've seen counseling numerous times in my life, but um, I mean, this one was different because I was telling someone everything about my life, you know, um, and you know, even if you don't get a disability, it's still good for you,
Of course, yeah.
you know. But one thing that I want to talk about uh, is not reporting certain things, which is I'm glad that a VA disability is for any illness or any injury in a line of duty, meaning that you were either active duty, you're a reservist on active duty orders, or you can even be a civilian DoD employee and get line of duty benefits. Okay, but the biggest problem of this is non-disclosure, and Marines are the worst.
I can tell
They
you
always want to be, yeah, they
firsthand.
want to be the tough guy. You know, they want to be the tough guy. Oh, I didn't, my knees don't hurt during the run. If your knees hurt, say your knees hurt. Go get some treatment so you don't blow your knees out.
Mm-hmm.
I got an old first sergeant from back in the day. This dude, he had no cartilage. He had no cartilage on his femur or his tibia or fibula. A lot of people don't even know that The cartilage is on the bones in between the knee. It's not on the knee itself. It's something that covers the knee. I'm sorry, it covers the femur, which is your upper bone, and your tibia and fibula, which are your lower bones. And that's where once you destroy that cartilage, I mean, you're going to be in pain. You're going to have osteoarthritis. You're going to have a whole lot of things. But Marines do not like to say that they're weak. They don't. And you know, it's funny.
Yeah.
I know Marines would rather take a bullet than take a needle. A lot
Mm.
of Marines are sissies when it comes to needles, but they fight though. But they hate coming to medical and get stuck. We sticking them for blood, give them shots.
Yeah, it's
You
that
know,
brainwashing. They teach us to like be a hard charger,
yeah.
and
Well,
they'll go to sick call and just tough it out. That's what we're taught all the
well,
time.
when you're 65 years old and your body's all worn out and you ain't never went to medical and you didn't tell them about nothing was wrong with you, it's going to be a whole lot harder to try to prove that you deserve a disability rating.
Mm. Okay.
So that's the number one problem. It's always been non-disclosure, not telling someone's wrong with you.
Okay.
Um, the second thing that will keep you away from getting disability is any injury or illness that was caused um, uh, of any type of violation of laws. So if you're in a deep if you were drinking and driving and you crash your car and you break your jaw and your femur.
That's obvious. Yeah, that's
Right.
obvious.
But I'm saying, but people think that they have to cover you. They don't really have to cover you.
Hmm.
Um, Most of the times they're going to pay the bills, but then you're going to get kicked out. Um, domestic violence. If you're being abused or abusing other people, it's not line of duty. You know, illicit drug use and alcoholism. There's no excuse.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I don't know if you saw the news, but I believe yesterday they had like three or four army cadets from um, from West Point just OD on what's that damn drug now that everybody's talking about, um,
Fentanyl.
fentanyl.
Yeah.
So apparently they had something that was laced with fentanyl, and they all had to. A couple of them had to get. A couple of them had to get that. Oh man, why do I not know? Narcan. They had to get the Narcan shot. But I think they had to start CPR on at least one of them, but they're all still in the hospital.
Mm.
And I mean, these are army college cadets, from West Point.
Yeah.
They use drugs too. People use drugs on active duty.
Now, as far as West Point, is that considered like the Harvard of like the military? Like
It's
like you got West Point and you got the Naval Academy.
right,
Right? Are those like the Ivy Leagues of like the next up and coming like future generals and colonels?
so those schools, that they are military college schools, and your intention when you go there is to become
Definitely a
an
lifer.
officer.
Definitely a lifer, right?
Not always a lifer. A lot of man, I'm glad you mentioned that. I personally know, or I have met um, the Secretary of Transportation right now.
Talking about Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
So, well, wait,
So
you met him back then?
so I was at the Reserve Center up in Great Lakes when he joined the Navy.
Mm.
He was an ensign, brand new. Didn't even know how to wear his uniform yet, because when you get a commission in the reserves, they don't tell you nothing. The recruiter just sends you to the. A lot of times, a recruiter will take you to the uniform store and help you pick out your stuff, but won't show you how to put them on. So I had like some, not just him, but other officers walking in there looking like a soup sandwich on the first day because no one told them what they needed. and then they go to a very short school up in Connecticut, I believe it's Groton, Connecticut, uh, where they learn how to be an officer in like 3 weeks.
Mm,
That's like the only training they really get as far as like training them to be an officer.
right, right.
And I don't know if he went to West Point or Annapolis or anything. I'm talking about reserves now, but a lot of people go to those schools because of like you said, like Harvard. If you go to West Point and you're a West Point graduate, you're probably going to get a lot more uh, privileges on active duty than versus going to say Northwestern Navy ROTC. The organization. I used to work with Marquette with the Sea cadet officers.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
but a lot of them they do that because after they do their service, then they run for office
Oh yeah, that
or they
looks
start.
great on the resume.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's a resume builder.
yeah.
I know people that went to Annapolis that didn't want to go there because they knew that um, they had other alum who were going to give them a job once they finished. I tell people this all the time. These colleges are not there to necessarily get you to learn something. It's to see if you can get through it.
And also, if you can have the ability to network while you're there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, you know, a lot of the inner city kids, we're not taught those things.
Right.
Or we're not told about those options. I mean, I think I would have did better at Annapolis in my first 4 years in the Navy than going to boot camp, but I didn't
Oh,
know about Annapolis.
so so boot camps are held there too, and then once you're done with boot camp, then you can kind of go into your whole college experience.
No, 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 no. It's a military academy. I'm saying the first day you're there, I mean, they're treating you like you're at boot camp.
Oh, okay, okay.
And you got uniform inspections, and I mean, it's intense. It's a lot of work. If you get through Annapolis or West Point, yeah, you a badass. But you can do the work though.
Hmm.
Um, like any organization, you got people who slip through. I was like, you can't stop the spillage.
Right,
You're
right.
always going to have spillage somewhere.
You will always have that leakage. Exactly.
Got
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
Look, it's like that. It's like that CH 46 Chinook. They say unless that sucker, they said the only time you have a problem with that helicopter is when it stops leaking. I'm telling you, they said if that transmission fluid stop leaking, it's time to land because they out of fluid. I'm telling you, man. I used to look. I mean, you've been on the 46, right?
I've been on the 53, the
Okay.
CH-53.
Well,
Yeah.
they spill too, but them 46s, they sit there and it just be dropping red transmission fluid on your boots, on your knee. I'm telling you,
It's
hey,
hilarious.
no. So let's get back to VA disability. You can claim that as a disability.
Where if fluid was to fall on your boots.
If you were exposed, look, that's part one of your STR, your medical record, hazardous exposures.
I mean, okay,
So
I did one helicopter ride. Can I claim that?
no, okay, so we're talking air crews here who are exposed to this every
Who
day.
worked there? Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right, exactly.
All right.
So if someone starts having a skin condition, if they start having endocrine issues, if they have anything like that, then and they say, oh yeah, I'm always got this transmission fluid on me, and I'm always washing it off.
Mm-hmm.
That all goes into history. But we ask those questions for a flight surgeon will ask that.
Okay.
They ask all different kind of questions that regular doctors don't even know what to ask because they haven't been trained to.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, just like I was exposed to radiation on board ships, we had our little radar buoys. And there's a part on the flight deck where they actually take a red line and they tell you do not cross this line because it's radiating.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell you, it can affect you having kids. It can make you sterile. It can give you different cancers, brain cancer, skin cancer, all kind of different stuff.
Okay.
So see what other another big exposure for now this is for Navy guys that work on what they call the Sea Whiz, which is that Gatling gun on the that RTD2 Gatling gun that's on the ships. That ammunition is made with depleted uranium, and if you touch it with your hands, it'll burn your hands. So they have to use a certain glove in order to even handle the weapon, the ammunition.
What what size caliber is it firing?
Sorry, it's a 20 meter M61 Vulcan Gatling gun autocannon. That's what it's called.
Oh,
So
so
it's a 20 millimeter round that's made out of depleted uranium.
oh, okay. All right,
Yeah,
interesting. All right.
yeah, it's a pretty powerful gun too, man. It shoots like 3,000 rounds per minute, and
Hmm.
it'll make an aircraft into Swiss cheese, literally.
Oh,
But
wow.
now they got the laser guns now too. And
Okay.
we getting ready to go into Star Wars age here pretty soon.
I saw a YouTube video recently in which there was a guy that was wearing some type of Iron Man jet blaster
Helmet.
suit.
Hmm.
No, not a helmet, but he had on like on his arms some type of jet propellers. As far as it pretty much kind of like let him be airborne from the little boat, and he pretty much kind of landed on the big ship.
That was
I thought
a
it was good.
yeah, that was a British I think that was a British Royal Marine that did that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But those are the
I thought
Brits
it
that
was
did
cool.
that.
I thought it was cool.
Hey, look, hey man, look, hey, before you know it, hey, I really believe that they're building Star Wars up in space and they just ain't telling us. The Star Wars defense system that they used to talk about way back in the day.
You really think that the U.S. is building that? Because I don't think we got the
I, I,
capability
I
to like to
I
do all
think
that.
NATO is building it together along with other nations. I think they're just not telling us about it.
Okay.
I mean, the International Space Station is old as hell, and they keep on sending stuff up there. I mean, a lot of people don't know this. Look, on a clear night, you can look into the sky and actually see a satellite like moving, like moving, through space.
Well, fortunately, I can't see it from here. I'm in in a major city, Chicago. I have to go out
Yeah,
into the country somewhere.
yeah, it's in the country, but you can see them. You can see them out there just floating, and it's thousands of them.
Mm, okay.
But so see, yeah. So I was saying early notification of illnesses, injury helps determine if that said injury is in a line of duty or not. So with me being a full time support sailor back in the day, which is pretty much taking care of reservists. A lot of times, some reservists will um, wait 3 or 4 months and then say that they fell down the stairs or twisted their ankle,
Mm,
and those are hard to prove, especially if you don't have any witnesses.
all right.
So VA disability 101. If something's wrong with you, report it. Number two, you can do you're required to do a line of duty investigation, and that's where it's a form that's filled out by your commanding officer or it's signed by your commanding officer, and it just says what happened, when, where, why, who was there,
Mm-hmm.
and if they determine it, then you start getting your benefits. If you have a injury or illness that is untreatable or can't get better, then a lot of times they'll discharge you. And now the good thing is once you get discharged on a med board, it automatically goes to the VA disability for determination. For determination. When I came back on active duty in 2004, you would have to do a med board, and once that finished, then you have to go all the way back and start all over again with VA disability. So some smart person finally figured out, why don't we do these at the same time? So for those who are getting med boards on active duty, they're also going to get a VA disability determination during that process.
Okay. I have a question for you. Now, in my case, I think the only thing that I will possibly try to get some disability from is the discoloration under my neck.
Hmm.
Because I can produce pictures like when I was in high school, like my senior year, where in which I had a very clear face,
Hmm.
and I have military pictures because they pushed us to use razors.
Right.
Everybody can't use razors, especially
Right.
black men. So I could produce pictures in which I can show pictures like literally like 1 month before I went to boot camp, and many pictures while I was in the military, and it's a difference.
Okay. Now, did you ever get seen in medical
No,
for
never.
like,
No.
and see? Well, the pictures are still. I mean, it's still a possibility that they'll consider that as a disability, and that there is called PFB,
What is that?
pseudo folliculitis Barbie,
Okay.
or ingrown hairs.
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll get darker skin around those bumps, especially for darker skinned men like yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and the treatment is not shaving, but the Marine Corps is the hardest one on that.
Right.
Um, they don't like no shave chits. The only reason why I survived the Marines, being with the Marines, because I was a sailor, and our rules are different.
Mm.
But it's funny. Uh, I tell people this all the time. They used to use this false narrative that not being able to shave will stop you from putting a seal on your gas mask. And I
Oh.
disproved it. I disproved that at least about 5 times. So
Mm.
I would matter of fact, yeah, my little reserve CO from Kilo Company 323 out of Memphis. He's like, you know what, Doc? Why you always got that beard? I said, because I get ingrown hairs. And he's like, man, whatever. He's like, when we get into battle, it ain't gonna make no difference. You ain't gonna get no seal on that mask. And I said, I'll tell you what, sir. When we go into the gas chamber, I said, I'll show you better than I can tell you. And we went to the gas chamber up in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I took my mask off. Well, we went in there with the mask. I took it off. I cleared it. He's like, how's it going, Doc? I said, I'm fine. Now, also, little did he know, look, I don't know anybody who's been in the gas chamber more than me, personally.
Oh, so you pretty much kind of like know the whole protocols of it.
Man, no, but you can get immune to that CS. You can get used to it, like drugs, like alcohol, anything else. I've been through the gas chamber so many times that when I worked at the penal farm, well, I was working at this prison and this correctional facility in Memphis, and they called for the corpsman up there one night because they had like 2 or 3 cans of CS on this guy. And when I walked up there, everybody's sitting around coughing. And I'm like, the hell's wrong with y'all? And they was like, you don't smell that? I said, smell what? It's like all that CS. We just let 2 cans on this guy. I'm like, oh, okay, now I can smell it because you said what it was. But they were all looking at me like I was crazy. And I'm like, nah. I said, I've been through the gas chamber at least 15 times.
Now you was there because they needed a corpsman just to kind of like monitor things while the Marines were training in the gas chamber, right?
Well, I mean,
Was that the
that
reason?
and also, no, we were there because we're going to go to battle with them.
Mm, okay. All right.
I mean, think about it. If you lose your corpsman, you're going to lose your Marines. Like we have to know how to take care of people with gas mask on.
Hmm.
That ain't easy, man.
Yeah.
Trying to assess a patient when you got a gas mask on and you got bombs and bullets flying around you, And I've never went through that, but I've had to train for it.
Right.
And it's like you said, when you came back from overseas, you were different.
Right. Yeah.
Everything that we do in the military changes us a little bit, and how we look at life, and how we appreciate things more than other Americans who have never served. So I'm an advocate for VA disability because, I mean, we are the protectors of this country,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
to not appreciate the protection that we give you is shameful for anyone who ever wants to deny a veteran a disability that they deserve and that they work their ass off for.
See, this is like one of my favorite movie quotes from A Few Good Men. Remember Jack Nicholson's quote in the courtroom? He said something
And no
about
truth.
no, it was prior to that. He was telling Tom Cruise, "I don't got the time or the inclination to explain myself to a man that rises and sleeps under the blankets of the very free that I provided and questions the matter which I provided." I thought
Yep.
that was the most badass quote I've ever heard in movie
Yep.
history.
You know what? I was convinced he was a Marine colonel
Right.
during that thing. I mean, because I worked for colonels and they act like that for real in real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, they some of the biggest assholes in the world.
Well, yeah, man. Do you have anything else as far as anything else that you can kind of?
Yeah, so I want to just recap this.
Okay.
VA disability starts on the first day you join the military, ladies and gentlemen. Document everything that you do or that happens to you, because without documentation, it didn't happen. Um, Report early. Don't wait to let someone know something's wrong. If you got stabbed in the neck, you'd say something. So when you twist that ankle, say something. Um, Deal with a specialist like myself who knows the system. They got AMBETs, they got the DAV. These organizations are great, but they're not allowed to charge. And I've taken care of so many VA disability claims that were denied the first time through those organizations, and then they were increased from 30 to 40%. And a lot of it is just the wording.
Mm,
Some of these guys are some of these people are just writing a book about a diagnosis. You can write yourself out of a disability just like you can write yourself into one.
mm,
People don't understand that.
mm, okay.
There isn't such thing as too much information. Trust me.
Okay.
That's one of my biggest failures. I give out too much information to people, and it's just too much to absorb. But uh, lastly, um, I know people who have gone through med boards on active duty, and they got sick and tired of the process, and then they stopped the process.
Oh, so you got to be patient.
You
Just
have to be patient.
and rat it out. Yeah.
I mean, I had a case. I had an active duty. I had a guy who broke his neck, and they didn't even know it was fractured for about a month. And it took me 2 years to adjudicate his case. Now, at the end, he got what they call TSGLI,
Mm-hmm.
which is traumatic service life, traumatic serve life insurance. It's uh, it's a portion if you get disabled, um, you get a percentage. So like if you get the max is 500,000 for the insurance, and say you lose a leg, they may give you 150,000 of that money.
Mm,
So insurance, anyone who doesn't take the life insurance on active duty is just crazy. Um, if you lose an eye, and this isn't even combat related, if you lose an eye, if you become blind, whatever, because all these things happen, at least you will be compensated for some of it.
okay.
But you got to know the right people to talk to. Some of the right people cost a lot of money. I didn't do my own disability only because I didn't have the time to do it. but I had to pay somebody $3,000 to do my VA disability, and I got it back. But if I would have had the time to do it, um, because of my heavy workload, and I was deploying a lot, I had went to Jordan and Latvia and Norway. So I just didn't have the time to do it. But I do it for other people now, and I normally charge a $300 fee just to do an evaluation of your disability rating and how it can get increased. But there's a lot of different repository systems out here that those other organizations don't have access to or don't know about. Yeah, I know about those. So I got a small little trump card in my back pocket, but I've helped quite a few veterans. I haven't had one that's been dissatisfied yet, and you can't do it by yourself.
So let me ask you this. I'm not sure if every state offers this, but if you have 100% disability, would that like allow you to have zero cost when it comes to property taxes?
It gives you a substantial reduction in your property taxes. Um, I pay $42 a year now.
42. Okay.
Yeah, I used to pay 300 a month,
And just 40 from 300 a month comes out to what, 30,
thirty six
3600
hundred dollars a year.
down to $42 a year.
Well, and this is the first year I had to pay because all the tax assessions and all the property values have gone up in Cobb County here where I live at.
Hmm.
So that's the only reason why you had to pay anything is because the value of everything around here has been going up.
Oh, okay.
So the taxes have gone up, and that's mainly the Brave Stadium. Like we're paying for the Brave Stadium now, whether you go to the game or not.
Okay.
Uh,
Cool. Cool, man. Well, for the audience out there, if y'all have any questions about any future on disability, just shoot us a email or shoot us a message in the comment section, and hopefully the whole cheap bullhead here can probably help you out.
no doubt.
Yeah. Cool. All right, y'all. This is the Cornerstone Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment, and share the content, and we'll see y'all later.